How's it going, team? So, a massive welcome back, as always, to the Average Jacks podcast. Today, I'm joined by my very good friend, business owner, S&C coach, personal trainer, gym manager, you name it, this guy's probably done it. My friend, Matt Wood. Matt is owner of Variable Strength, the now proud sponsor of this podcast. In today, we chat pretty much about everything. It's one of the longer ones, but it was a really good chat. It was a really good insight. What I'm finding with these podcasts is even when I speak to people that I've known for a long time, when you sit down in this format, you begin to learn things about them that you didn't even know just because of the way that these things go. It was a really cool chat with Matt. We jumped into his experiences in professional football, dealing with football managers, running a small business, juggling his work-life balance, which is one of the busiest that I've ever come across, and yet Matt still manages to smash his fitness goals, smash his life goals, still finds time for his family, for his friends. This one's a really insightful one, and it covers a range of aspects. So I hope you enjoy. As always, something that I do ask is if you could leave a review for the podcast. That helps me massively, helps the podcast grow, and it's completely free. If you're also interested in myself and want to learn a bit more about me, you can head over to www.jackmckeenan.co.uk. There, you can find a bit more about my book, Habits, Happiness and Health, or you can sign up for my weekly newsletter, get exclusive discounts, such as the Varibus one, which I'm going to talk about shortly, and others that I have on there. The newsletter is called The Cue. It's a 3-minute newsletter, hopefully giving you a new cue for the habit that will change your life. So, moving on to the proud sponsor of this podcast, which is Variable Strength. We'll talk a lot about them today, so I won't give them too much of an introduction, but they are the best apparel company around. They're affordable, they're high quality, and you'll hear all the good reviews and everything that they've had in today's podcast. So, for our exclusive podcast listeners, we have a code that is Average Jack, and that will get you 20% off at checkout. So please go over, check them out, support Varibus, support myself, and get yourself some top quality apparel, especially for all you gym goers. So let's get into it. Hope you enjoy. See ya.
Rating for the content, a rating for the searchability of it based on the keywords. I'll send you a link for it. It's good. Like literally, if you threw your podcast in there, it'll give you like the 10 best clips from the podcast.
So, well, this does something similar. So it's like it gives you, it's called Magic Clips. You just click it, and then. But to be fair, like it's very repeatable. But I'll try that. That sounds decent.
Yeah.
So good.
Good, mate. Good.
Yeah. I'm being tired.
Very tired. Very tired. Balancing being a dad, with work and life.
Business.
Yeah.
New job coming up.
1st of July, so in transition at the moment, which is nice.
Long process.
Exciting.
As well.
Yeah, very long process, but will be worth it when it's all up and running.
Yeah, definitely. So, like, a bit about yourself, a bit about your background. Like, for people who don't know, we met through work. Probably the only guest that I've got a matching tattoo with. So
not many people can say that. I mean, it's how you explain it as well when someone asks you. If you've never seen it, I mean, it's a bit of a weird people one. Will either get a battery. I've had a vape before. Yeah, I mean, you just sort of have to go with whatever someone says, and
I'm like,
it's not the best. Well, it is to us. It's the best to us.
It's something personal, isn't it? I think that's what's like boss about tattoos. People are like, what the fuck is that on your ankle? And I'm like, oh, how long have you got?
Yeah, here we go again.
How long have you got? But like, obviously when they look at my other ones, immediately sort of, it's weird because people don't ask me about these ones, like, what do they mean? Just because like the normal tattoos. But this one,
what's that?
Yeah, it's so bizarre. They're like, what is that? And why have you got a crown and battery?
And a lightning bolt. Yeah.
But I mean, how old was you when you had your first tattoo?
I'm at about 17, 18, I think. Yeah.
I was 18.
Because I've not had any that's the only tattoo I've had since I've been 20, maybe.
Is it?
Yeah, and I'd love to I probably will get some more at some point, but it's just one of them. I just never have gone back. But
I didn't know that.
No?
I've known you for years. I didn't know that you've got this was your first one in ages.
yeah,
But yeah, they're addictive, aren't they? Like, and it does I think.
it's like a therapeutic pain, though.
Yeah.
I say this to people, like the shading hurts when they're going over a part that they've been over, but it's a therapeutic feeling. I think it's like a weird massage.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
for a sadistic person.
Yeah, someone who just loves inflicting pain on themselves.
Yeah,
but there's got to be a correlation between people who like. You look at like people who smash the gym, all fucking like top athletes and stuff. They're all covered in tattoos, and like you've got to be a bit like of a like masochist.
Yeah.
Like want to train and fucking put yourself in the bin like
Yeah.
that. So there's definitely got to be a correlation between people who have loads of tattoos and who just fucking love binning themselves in the gym because you love binning yourself. I know you do.
Yeah.
So like. I used to. I'm probably a bit more softer than I used to be. I think I've got out of it.
See, I think, and a lot of people have this when they train in the gym, and a lot of people have it high up in business and stuff like that. It's that mental barrier, isn't it, of being able to almost switch off. When you get to a point when, even when you're training and something's difficult, most people will stop.
Yeah.
Some people have like a mental block where they could just block it out and push a bit further.
Yeah, there's a wall in that.
Yeah. And I think stuff like tattoos are the same. Some people can just sit there and just block it out, and whereas you'll get some people sat there like sweating like Deborah.
Last time I went, this is a great story. And she was having a spine done. I've never had my spine done, but like Nick has had the top of her back done.
Yeah,
that was her first one. Gnarly as fuck. But I'd avoid that. But this girl was like a tattooist. Have you ever had tattoos before? She's like, yeah, I'm good. Like, she's like, you okay with pain? Because this is a pretty gnarly one where you have an end of shit. And she's like, yeah, I'm sound. But for the hour, she was honestly the only thing I can like relate it to is labour. She was like, oh my god. And like there's a room full of people having tattoos and tattoos just like oh my god, not lost.
Yeah.
But it was like it was the absolute ballsiness of it, of just being like
it's just not for everyone though, is it?
Yeah, and you put her in a gym and you 40-minute workout, she's like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, it is though. Like if you told someone to go for a run now, there'll be some people who aren't fit at all, but will just do a half an hour run just because mentally they can do it. Whereas some people will go, I'm a bit out of breath and I can't do it. I'll stop.
Not got the legs. I mean, I hate running, so I'm definitely. Yeah, sometimes you just go to something and you look at a workout and you're like, that is everything I hate. You just sit there and you just grind through it and you will always feel better afterwards. Yeah. And I think that's what's bizarre. I think like when I've PT'd people in the past and done exercise classes and things like that, I struggle to not get frustrated with people who quit early. I can appreciate it, but I have to remind myself, I'm like, some people just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And like you're obviously got a coaching background, you've worked through like professional teams and stuff like that. Do you see that when you do it? And do you feel like that? Push yourself.
See, I obviously played rugby, didn't I? And when I played, I was at Saints until I was like 18, 19. And from an early age, my dad pushed my mindset quite hard. Like my dad was always quite strict with everything, nutrition, psychology, the gym stuff, everything was on point. So I always had that drilled into me quite young. And then when I stopped playing, obviously I went to uni, did sports science, did human nutrition masters, and then went into the big world of football. And in my mind, every professional athlete was going to be in on time, in early, doing gym, nutrition was going to be bob on, sleeping. It's just not. They're not. From what I've seen, the health hygiene of athletes at lower levels, so I'm talking like football, League 1, League 2, the hygiene levels of health are quite poor. Yeah. Like, people don't enjoy doing the gym. You have to really force gym. Nutrition stuff, a lot of them have a very poor diet. Sleep-wise, they don't. A lot of it comes from not understanding, I think. Yeah. Because if you're an athlete or a footballer or a rugby player, the thing you want to do, you want to kick a football around the pitch.
Yeah, you want to do the specific.
Yeah. And if you're getting dragged into the gym to do heavy back squats, for example, it's taken away from what you're doing outside. And if you don't enjoy that aspect of it, but you don't understand why you're doing it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. So education's a massive part.
Exactly.
It's interesting you said that because they had Danny Fletcher on like the second episode, and he's S&C as well. And but he works with fighters, and I was trying to I was asking him these questions to sort of pick a point in it for people who are sort of new to the gym, and to prove that even boxers and MMA fighters, they go into the gym, and because like you said then, that's not what they want to do or what they understand. They're not very good at it, and there is an entry level for everything in there, and it's so interesting for sort of think that even these professionals who, League One and League Two players, are not making Prem or Championship money, but they're making
the good money. They retire wealthy.
yeah. They're already more than me rocking up to 9 to 5,
exactly.
And I'm there on time every day, but it's crazy to think. But then you look at people who sort of you have pals, don't you? I still play at an amateur level for rugby and things like that. And you always have a handful of people in the team at that amateur level who are still super professional.
Yeah.
They're 10 minutes early, doing extra warm-ups, they worry about the nutrition. And it's crazy because they're the one they didn't make it. And you'll speak to them and they're probably the lads that didn't even get representative level when they were younger.
Yeah.
But then you speak to the lads who turn up, go out on the piss, they're on the sesh every weekend, and they're like, I just got to let go 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And how have you, where, what? And you just think naturally it'll be sort of the other way around.
I mean, the Rugby World League is the worst for it in terms of getting out on the coke and the beer and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm still quite connected with quite a few people in the Rugby League world. And when you hear some of the stories, people you watch on the telly in the Super League and stuff, and you would think, must be a great athlete. A lot of them out on the piss and out on the coke on a Saturday night. But then these players I played with when I was 16, 17, and they were shit when I played with them. They were really shit. They weren't at a good representation level. But they've been the ones who've stuck to good habits and stuff like that and worked on nutrition, worked on the gym work, got stronger, got fitter. And some of them have pushed up. Despite not being very talented at the time, I've just outworked people around them.
It's like a quote, isn't there, where it's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And
it's so true. It is, yeah.
Massive. And from your experience of obviously dealing with these people to sort of, they don't not want to do it. But some probably don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? They see it as a job, but there's some who just don't want to do the things that add and make them better. As a coach, how do you navigate that? How did you find was best to navigate them sort of unmotivated?
Yeah, I think. See, this is something I struggled with when I first started because going in as a coach, because you're so passionate about it, you expect everyone else to be really passionate. And I spent sort of a year or two when I was first in just working out how to break down boundaries and stuff like that. And the best thing I found is just to create personal relationships with players, especially when you're working in a professional environment. It's finding out little bits about their family and the home life and what they're into outside of work. And then it's remembering it. And it might just be you walk into the gym and I start a conversation with you about your daughter. Oh, how was your daughter's school play yesterday? And then straight away, boom, they're bought in. They like you. So when you're telling them to do something, they like you and they trust you.
That's
so
mutual respect, sort of thing.
Whereas if we've got no sort of relationship at all and I'm just go and do this, in their head they're oh, no, I'm not part. Yeah, exactly. They don't want to do it. Yeah.
It's like when you was at school, the teacher you probably related best to was the one who sort of give you that chance and that respect to sort of be yourself. They weren't just do this, go and do that, because you're fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting how it's transferable. I think it's interesting how everything's especially from professional sports to a couple of people now who work with professional teams and that, how transferable it is just to the general population. And that segues nicely into asking you, because you've obviously worked professional athletes and general population. Is there any standout differences, or do you have to sort of approach them with similar?
I mean, it's the same, isn't it? It's creating buy-in into whatever you're trying to preach. If you're trying to get a certain message across, or you're trying to change a certain habit for someone, it's gauging how you're going to do that within their life. It's looking at what the barrier is. If you've got John who's looking to lose weight and he spent 10 years not being able to lose weight, and it's looking at the barrier and then working out how you're going to break it down, but what has also stopped him from breaking down that barrier over them 10 years, because the likelihood is he's tried and he's tried and he's tried, but for whatever reason he hasn't succeeded, or he's succeeded and then he's rebounded back again. So I just think creating a really good personal relationship, I've done it wherever I've gone. I've always tried to in whoever I've worked with, I've always tried to create really good personal relationships. And I've found those people who do buy into me personally, it's the people who, when you say jump, they'll jump. Those are the ones who really get good results.
That's interesting, because it's sort of like another thing that I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned it before about your dad sort of instilling high standards into you. And obviously that's formative, isn't it? That's being done in your formative years. But you've also worked in academies as well.
Yeah.
So like, can you pick up on sort of an academy player? And this is something I spoke to Harry about, who's a sports psychologist. Like, you know, when their parents are sort of pushing them down that path, and these young players don't have any sort of maybe internal motivation, it's all extrinsic. So it's like, you know, I want to be a footballer, I want to be a millionaire. And their parents are thinking the same thing. Or like, well, I can live vicariously through you. And like, that must be, especially for a coach, and like something that you do yourself, where, you know, I think health and fitness is something that is a lot more understood in the last 10 years than it's probably ever been. But how to train like a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old it's like entry-level lessons, as well as the parents who are probably like that footballer who doesn't care about it. Like, well, but make them the next Ronaldo, they just should be kicking a ball and aiming at the goal all day. How do you navigate them relationships? Can I imagine that's frustrating for someone like yourself?
Do you know what? I think the education is a lot better. Even from when I started, say, 9 years ago, when I first went into academy football, the structure wasn't there. Like, people weren't getting access to things like the psychology and the sports science until they were hitting 16, 17, 18, by which point they've gone through like growth and maturation. They've already been there and done it. So all them sort of like habit building and stuff like that, and all the transferable skills and stuff you can get from being a kid, they've missed out on. So they've got gaps already that you can't fill when they reach that age.
That vital window.
Yeah. Whereas now, as soon as you go into a football academy or a rugby academy, or you've got weekly psychology, you've got sports scientists who are working with the coaches, you've got things like multi-sports where up to a certain age, people are encouraged to do as many sports as they can. I mean, even things like, if you're a footballer, gymnastics, working on your flexibility, it aids in your longevity as a footballer. Things like tennis, hand-eye coordination, everything has a transferable skill. And then at some point, depending on the maturation of the player, they're going to refine down and work out which sport they want to go into, at which point they will specialise.
Yeah. And like, it's funny you talk about the transferable skill, because one of the best sort of examples of that I know is Usyk, through like dancing. Like he was like doing ballet and dancing until he was like 20. I think he still is. And you watch like his fluidity in the ring and stuff like that.
You can see it, can't you?
Of course, and like the mad dancing he does and shit like that. So like, working in football, working in a gym, been sort of staples of like, you know, your career. And then football didn't really go to plan, did it? You had a couple of situations with that. We won't go into too much detail. I know you've done specific podcasts before, but like a bit about that, and then where you are now with Viribus, and sort of how that was formed.
So I had a hat trick essentially in football. So I was going around Northwest clubs, killing them off one by one. So
the curse.
I started off at Bury Football Club, and I was there for a couple of years. Really enjoyed my time there. Obviously, they went into financial troubles. The club ended up going bust, so I lost my job there. Went straight across to Macclesfield, which was a really good opportunity for me at the time, because I was like 23, 24, working in a first-team environment in the Football League, working with professional players, and that was a really good opportunity, but the pay wasn't there, so just wasn't getting paid. So
crazy that though. Because you think of, people sort of assume with football that it's got all this money, but that predominantly goes into the players, don't it? Like,
it's not like a normal work environment. Like, if I don't get paid on Monday, I can't go to HR and be like, "Where's the money?" Like, it's not like that. You just don't hear anything. It all comes from the owner, and the owner could just decide, "Oh, I'm not going to come to the training ground for 2 weeks." So you're just waiting for and it's not so bad for me at the time, because I didn't have a family. I was still living at home, but you've got people who like work in like the stadium and work in like the catering side of things, who've got families and they're not getting paid regularly, but they do it for the love of the sport or the love of the club. And then obviously after Macclesfield moved on to Oldham, I had a really good learning experience at Oldham, working with. So at the time when I went in, the coach I was working with was really, really good. Really enjoyed working with him. He bought into a lot of things I did, give me a lot of free reign. I learned a lot of him as well. So he was an ex-professional. So I learned a lot of the football side of things off him, and we worked well together. The second season, a new manager come in, and he was a foreign manager. I won't name or anything like that. He was a foreign manager, and he had his own idea of doing things. So in England, obviously, it's quite a physical game, football. So you've got to be built up, you've got to be strong, and you've got to be powerful, especially in lower leagues. If you go somewhere like Spain, Italy, it's a bit more technical. So players are smaller, they don't need the physical stuff. I remember he came into one of the gym sessions and he went, "Oh, just observe for the first week." He came in and his famous thing he always used to do, he used to go, "Putain de mer," which I think is fucking shit. And so every single time. And,
which is the last thing you need.
We were set up in the gym and we were doing like back squats, RDL, hip thrusts, a little bit of core work. And he just come in and went, "Putain de mer," and walked straight out. And
cheers, mate.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And then that evening, he emailed across a circuit that Atletico Madrid do on the pitch, and he went, "We're not doing gym anymore. We're doing this," which was, it's stuff like jumping on a Bozu ball and bungee, a load of rubbish basically. And fast forward through the season, players started getting injured, as I said they would, and obviously he comes to blame me, but. Yeah, we didn't have a very great working relationship, and there were certain bits and bobs where things broke down. But for me, coming out of that, I was just aiming to get to the end of the season just from a mental resilience standpoint, just to say, I've stuck it out, I've worked with a difficult person, I've made the best of the situation, and there was a lot I could take from that person going forward.
Developing skills to navigate them situations, because if you just, again, it's going back to what we talked to initially about that wall and being able to sort of go through it rather than pause and think, shit, there's nothing I can do about this. To continue, you've probably learned more from that one negative situation than you would have from 5 positive ones.
Yeah, the thing that sort of sums it up is there was a time when he had an incident where I had to report him for a safeguarding incident. And he got suspended for 1 day, but he was best mates with the owner, so they let him back in the next day. And he sat me down the day after and he said, "Listen, I know it was you that made the safeguarding report. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you leave this club in the next 2 or 3 weeks." He was like, "I'm going to be bringing my own person in. You're going to be gone." And then that clicked something in my head. I was like, no, we're not. I'm going to be here until the end of the season, and you'll enjoy me as well. So them couple of weeks was literally, I'd turn up for training, I'd have a session plan in place, because I always used to do the first half an hour of the sessions. It would be like warm up, the first bit of technical, and then they go to coaches. Some days I'd turn up an hour before, set everything up, get everything started, and as I'm started, he'd just come onto the pitch and go, "No, fuck off, you're not needed today."
Mad.
Yeah, so that was a big win for me. Big win.
Yeah, that's just so... it's not alien to me. It just seems so bizarre in such a professional capacity for someone to be so petulant and just be a prick. Because you're there doing your job. And I think that's sort of our conversations with other people in the past about football specifically, how it can just change on a whim, can't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, you obviously had a manager who was an arsehole, but you can't boards and then owners who just want their input on it and can be sort of think they know best, when in reality he's not the one who has a master's or has been doing it for years like yourself, and it's just it's ego, isn't it? And sometimes when you remove ego, you actually prosper, and your ego can be a massive sort of cage, and he's proven that.
The way it works in football, you want a really tight team. At the end of the day, the manager's job is reliant on everyone else doing the job below. If they don't trust someone,
it's the manager, isn't it?
Yeah, if they don't trust someone, it's not me that's getting sacked, it's him that's getting sacked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'll still be there, it's him that's getting sacked. So that's from experience, it's the tight teams that do well.
I've never heard it worded like that. It makes perfect sense about if the top of the tree does shit, that gets done. Because usually if you came into a work environment, like when we work together and other places, just like leisure specifically, it'd be the bottom. It'd be like the workers, the workforce.
Yeah, you cut off the bottom, don't you? Yeah.
And then it'd be like try and fit to the manager rather than the opposite way, which it seems in football. Which, to be fair, sounds a lot more.
But then you've got to think, if you've got, for example, 20 players who don't like the manager, it's easier to get rid of one manager than it is 20 players.
Yeah.
Which is the problem you see we use United, for example. That's the problem United have had for years.
Yeah.
If you've got 10 players who are on 250 grand a week who decide they don't like the manager, that's 2.5 million's value of players per week.
Yeah.
That versus a manager that's on 10 million a year.
Yeah.
It's just easier to get rid of the manager if things aren't going well.
And to be fair, I sort of agree with it, because working in places myself, the manager in certain aspects can be the one that sort of holds everything back and can be a sort of a gatekeeper to ways of old.
Yeah.
Sort of hinder progression. And you sort of see that throughout the board in different things. Like you see it in businesses when the CEO's been fucking there for 40 years and then they get rid of them and then the company excels. I mean, that for me, it makes a lot more sense than what we see in normal life, everyday life, of like, well, actually, it's the workforce that needs that. It'd be, if it was in a, if it was working in like Asda or a leisure centre, it'd be like, right, all the workers, off you go.
Yeah.
We'll just
You're not meeting the standards.
But it's because they're not being paid.
That's
250 grand a week.
They're not an asset. They're an asset.
Yeah.
Footballers,
yeah.
Essentially.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, sorry.
From your obviously your not so pleasant experience with that manager, what was next?
So after that, obviously COVID hit. Before I left there, they were a bit iffy with the COVID payments and stuff like that. So I decided to box that off. Moved on to work in the JD gyms. So initially took a job as an assistant manager with a little bit of PT on the side. And after about a year there, got promoted in the same club to the general manager, which is where I've been obviously for the last 2 years. So managing the club day to day and then little bits of personal training on the side, which has been a nice balance for me in a way, because I don't massively enjoy coaching the general population. So for me to be able to handpick a couple of clients that I really want to work with, that I know are going to do well, is a lot better for where I'm at with my life at the minute. I don't think I couldn't go in and PT. Like, I watch some of my PTs or some of the PTs I'm close with doing 40 hours a week or 30 hours a week, and I watch them train people that they hate training.
And it's so funny you say that, because it's mind-boggling that if you try to explain to someone when you work in a gym environment and like you're a PT or you're around other PTs, if you was on the outside looking in, you think, oh well, that person has paid X amount of money. I mean, PTs aren't cheap, you know what I mean? No,
it's a good investment.
It's a good investment, but these people are putting X amount of money in, probably 3 figures if they're having multiple sessions, and there's just no buy from them.
No.
They think that it's right, I paid for the PTs, so that will then solve the problem. They just miss out the vital part of the work that goes with that, and it is frustrating to sort of see. And I think it's because my personal opinion is everything's so instant with what we have now in this day and age, and I think people
expect results like that.
Yeah. And like, you've been, let's say, Bob, who has been on the ale, on the sesh every weekend for the last 10 years, put on weight, can't get rid of it. Do you think that can just go like that? You think, all right, I'll get a PT, I'll have 5 sessions and I'll be looking like I was when I'm 18. But you've got to think, like, you've put your body through 5, 10, maybe more years of shit. Like, you're going to have to put that sort of work in.
Yep.
In that, you're going to have to make that negative equity back in the same time frame as positive equity to even be considering a change.
I mean, like, the first month now when I work with someone, it's not focused around anything to do with weight goals or anything like that. It's just looking at their life, seeing where I can add value to their life and altering a couple of really easy habits. And then the results come naturally with that anyway. But they're not focused on a number. They're not like, oh, I've got to lose 10 pounds this month, or I want to gain 2 kilograms of muscle. They're focusing on them 1 or 2 really easy, changeable habits. We're not getting absolutely hammered with, right, we're going to cut out beer, no chocolate, protein every meal, 8 hours of sleep. It's just 2 easy changes. The results come with it.
Yeah, definitely. It's compounded, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you see these people, And to be fair to the majority of people, when they come into a situation, from my personal experiences, they are balls to the wall for that first month.
Yeah.
They want to do everything because they've got that motivation. And they're just like, yeah, like Duracell buddies, like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. But as, you know, from my experience and learning, definitely, you've got to rein that in, like you said, because you've got so many, imagine it's like a wheel or like a tree and branches coming off it. There's so many negative things or things that aren't positively impacting them. You can't just expect to cut all them off because it'll just wilt and die. You've got to slowly put them in, like you said, naturally. And it's interesting that you said it that way because not many people don't mention that.
I think some trainers, this is where they go wrong sometimes when I watch them. They're that focused on getting the sale and getting the money.
Yeah.
And I really want that client that if they sit down and they're like, yeah, I want to lose 30 pounds of fat, they go, yep, sound right, let's get paid. And month one, yeah, they've lost 5 pounds and I'm like, what's going on? Whereas I will sit down with someone and be very realistic.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at your life. Let's have a look at your lifestyle. What can you commit to? That's unrealistic. This is realistic. If you want to work with me, this is what we're going to do. If you don't want to work with me, that's absolutely fine. Go and work with this person or this person. That's fine. You're not the person for me.
100%. And that is so important in a relationship between a client and a coach. And something that I only learned the hard way is that it's all well and good people coming to you for business and you being a good fit for them, but they have to be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you said, you've got PTs who work in your club and you see them and you see it where I work as well, and they're just frustrated. They come out of it and they're like fucking banging their head against the wall.
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, it should be a reciprocal thing, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
And again, something that I put in like the book when I wrote it and my own sort of past is you have to start very small and compound and sort of snowball effect it. Because when I was sort of in my position, when I was like bigger and more unhappy, my initial thought before I educated and got like reached out to people who I know like yourself and got coached off and different aspects like that, I would just be like, right, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go out and run a 10k, I'm going to come home, eat healthy breakfast, blah, 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 this, that and the other, but it's just not sustainable. You might do it for 4 days, but then you just fucked.
It's not long enough to make it a habit, is it?
No.
People don't stick to it long enough for it to become a habit.
And that's where discipline comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
And discipline works in a way as well where it's not about, you know, I love Goggins and people like that, and you know, he's the other one who goes on Rogan, Cam Ends. Them people they are motivating just naturally watching.
Yeah.
They are a percentile of the world. They are a percentile of people who can get up at 5 a.m. with fucking broken legs and go through an ultra marathon.
See, this is why I like this podcast as well, though, because I really enjoy podcasts like, say, the High Performance podcast, and I like books like that, but it's unrealistic. It like people can't do it. Like you look at your family life. Like I've got a baby now, and I can probably commit to training 4 hours a week. If that, I've got a business on the side. Like that's great in an ideal world, but I'd rather listen to what real people are doing with similar lifestyles and similar businesses. And so I think this podcast itself provides a lot of value in that sense.
I appreciate that, man, because that is the aim. It's to sort of, like I said, I love them sort of people, and I love watching it, and I love getting an insight to them. You know, them elite performers, and then the 1% of the 1%.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not me.
Yeah, how much can you actually take from it?
Exactly.
In an ideal world, yes, amazing. But how much can you realistically take?
Can I do pull-ups for 24 hours until you can see the bones in my hands? No. Would I do it? Probably not.
That's what I mean.
It'd take a considerable sort of like incentive for me to be like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna inject numbing like drugs into my hands so I can do this.
Yeah. But it's like you look at people looking at Goggins and they're like, yeah, I'll go out for a 24-hour run and I'll go out and run it for as long as I can. 2 hours in, Achilles pings. They're out of action for 3 months.
Go and do 24 minutes. If you've not ran for 10 years, go and do 24 minutes.
Yeah.
And see how you fucking shit feel. Because let me attest to it. They will feel shit.
Yeah.
And again, it's going back to what we said. They're the 1%, and people need to sort of look at them as inspiration and be like, you know, you are you are the top of the pyramid. You are the top of the.
If that's what you want to get to, that is what you're aiming for. But 99% of people don't, like you say. They are 1%.
Yeah. And again, I'm glad you said that because it is interesting. But like you just mentioned then about yourself, you know, I've known you a long time now, very good friends, and you are one of the busiest people I know. But you still manage to train, do that. Even if it's 4 hours, is that what you do is I think personally, is that you have a very good level of whatever you do. You sort of do it at the highest quality to sort of benefit your time frame as well as all the other stuff that you do.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll get into Viribus in a little bit. But like your routines and that and your habits, is there any that, you know, you think, if I didn't have this one, everything else would sort of go to shit?
I journal.
Yeah.
Every morning I wake up, I journal. And
Love that.
I set, for the day, I set out what are my key things. Normally it's 2 things that I need to do today.
Yeah.
So it might be, I need to run today. That might be the priority for the day. It might be something to do with home life. It might be something to do with work, business, whatever it is. There's 2 that I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an ideal list. Things that, great if I can get them done. No problem if not. Obviously, I like the positive affirmation stuff. I always do that every day. And then I come back to that at the end of the day. And obviously, I like to reflect on stuff. I'm big on, I like reflecting on interactions because when I was younger, I was very quiet and very timid and I was scared of everything. Like even when I played rugby, I was scared to interact with people, which over years, and I mean, especially now like in a management position, it's good for me to reflect back on interaction. When I have to deal with a difficult situation or a difficult thing, I journal to reflect on it.
Yeah.
And I find it really, if I didn't do that, I think it would send everything because I would have no priority list of what I'm doing through the day. So I would just literally be picking and choosing whatever I want to do. Yeah.
I mean, journaling, it's not surprising to me. I mean, fun fact, you actually, when we was working together, you sent me a link for a goal journal, and that's what started me journaling.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
No problem, mate.
But it's a common theme with everyone that I've spoken to the majority of people I've spoken to on this podcast, journaling just crops up constantly. And like, for fellas, it's perceived as this like effeminate thing, isn't it? But it's not. I mean, it's sort of releasing your mind, isn't it?
Private for yourself. No one else has to see it. It's like sometimes, I mean, you speak to people and they'll lie in bed at night and think about what's happened, and sometimes you can write it down.
Yeah.
And I've had some of my best business ideas when I've been late in bed thinking, or when I've been journaling.
Yeah.
It's just come into my head. I thought, I'll jot that down. I've come back to it the next day and it's been, boss, I'll roll with that today. And I just don't understand why some people don't decide to do that, especially if you're aspiring to get from step 1 to step 2 or step 2 to step 3. Some people are happy at step 1, which is perfectly fine. That's if you're happy with what you're doing, that's fine. But if someone like yourself or for myself, I'm always trying to get better at whatever I'm doing. I'm always trying to progress onto something new, always trying to build, which obviously you need blocks in place to do that, and journaling's one of them.
Yeah. And like something you mentioned then, which again I like doing, but there is sort of perceptions about it. So you mentioned positive affirmations there. And I think there's that little book in there called The Secret, which, you know, went fucking mad. I mean, she's making some dollar off that. But like that's the extreme in it of like positive affirmations. That sort of negates what especially me and you, knowing each other alike. Like I think The Secret, I've read bits of it. I didn't get through it, but I wanted to sort of see what the high was. But it seems to be very much like, right, if I just sit down and I think, right, I'm gonna lose 3 stone, and I just keep telling myself that's gonna happen. That's not what it is it? No. It's like, right, I'm gonna get up today, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it's sort of like it's an internal journal, isn't it? In a way of like setting the day up for it how you want it to be, and then when you combine that with journaling and you go back and reflect, it then creates the gratitude aspect of your journaling because you've completed your positive affirmation. You go back and you think, fucking hell, I'm sick, mate. Done all this, done that, and you do feel great.
Yeah, you do.
And like you just said then about plucking it out of your head. I am chaotic, as you know. Like my head just pings. So when I pull that out and put it there, it's freeze real estate up in my head
for something else.
For more stupid ideas. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the affirmations don't have to be anything crazy. There's some days I wake up and I feel a bit shit, and I might just say, I'm grateful for my wife, or I'm grateful for my son. And that just gives me a little bit inside where I go, yeah, do you know what? I have got my family, I'm working for my family.
Yeah.
Let's go and attack the day. It doesn't have to be like bloody anything crazy. It doesn't have to be, which people think.
And again, I think that's where we've got these, not societal norms, but we've got these misconceptions of what is sort of pushed on us, and that's where social media can be a great tool, don't get me wrong, but it can also be a fucking massively negative one of where
I don't use it much anymore.
To be like, other than for what I'm doing for like the business and stuff, I do try and avoid it. If you try and message me on, as you can probably attend to, I'm terrible.
Same as, you get 3 or 4 days where you get a reply from me on Instagram.
And you just feel so much better, but you just see the best of everything. Again, you see your 1%ers, you see them people like, just smashed out 7 days, 7 ultras, and you're like, that's incredible. But when you see it so many times, you start wondering, why am I not doing that?
Yeah.
But again, you're seeing the snippets and the best things. You're not seeing fucking people taping their feet together and fucking shitting themselves on the side of roads and that sort of stuff. You're just seeing the highlights. And when you remove yourself from that environment, you can sort of take away the shine off everything and sort of be more grateful for the basic things in life, which is brilliant.
The best thing to describe that in terms of social media for me is when my son was born, I had a 2-week break completely off social media.
Yeah.
Just at home, it's the happiest I've ever been. Obviously, it should be because I've got a new baby, but even in terms of, I had nothing playing with my mind at all from social media. Nothing at all. I was just present in my life, doing what I wanted to every day. Whatever made me happy that day, I'd go and do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't affected either way by anything.
It's just like, it's a habit, isn't it? I mentioned it when I spoke to Anna, who is a content creator and social media manager. So her job is that.
Fair play to her.
We had that discussion about how you sort of navigate it. And I mentioned something that I use, which is like 1 sec, which is like, it makes going onto any social media like being on fucking a 90s internet model, like it's like a wind up. It takes like 40 seconds for it load. And when you think you just go on it mindlessly, and you see that, and you're like,
just close it straight down.
You don't miss it.
You don't need it.
It's
like a comfort blanket.
It is. It's like a dummy for.
I mean, how often do you see it when someone's walking about, or even in the gym when someone feels uncomfortable in the gym, they'll just pick up the phone and start scrolling. Not because they want to look at stuff, it's just because it's comfortable to do it.
It's like a peacock berry.
Peacock, they don't have a good time with that.
Opposite that, isn't it? Peacock shows it off. But yeah, and I am bad. I was a lot worse with social media. But taking that step away is definitely one of the better things that I've done, just for my own mental clarity and my self-esteem. I think that, again, when you look at people and the best and what they're doing constantly, I'm very critical of what I do myself, and being in that environment does not positively stimulate me. It actually makes me worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've got to have that mindfulness. You've got to know what brings you up and pulls you down if you want to get to step 2 and step 3. But like I said, some people are just happy with step 1, and I have no issue with that.
No, it's what you want to do. I mean, I worked at Lidl when I was in uni. Mm-hmm. I drive past that Lidl every weekend, and there's still some people in there that I worked with 10, 15 years ago, which is fine. People are just happy, which no problem.
If you're happy and you're truly happy, fucking fair play to you.
Yeah.
Because not many people get that.
No.
People are always chasing.
There's always something, isn't there? There's always something more. You set a goal and you reach it, and a lot of people don't spend time enjoying whatever they've done. They're like, oh, right, I've reached that, but that's not giving me the gratitude that I want. Yeah. So I need to go and do this, or I need to go and do that.
And that's where you insert something like journaling.
Yeah.
You can have that log of 6 months ago, right, I want to be able to run a sub 30-minute 5K. Right, well, I've looked now, and fucking hell, I had a rough first 6 weeks. But I stuck with it, I got better, and now I can look back and remember that, fucking hell, look at me now where I am. And that will bring you that sort of joy and that moment where you just sort of switch off and think just about that. But yeah, I think it now shocks me that more people don't journal than do. You know, like,
Yeah, it's a lot more common now, isn't it? But it's not mainstay practice. I don't know many people that journal,
yeah,
especially given the industry we're in, like in health and fitness. You would think that it would go hand in hand with what we do, because we're obviously telling people how they should live their lives and trying to create positive in their lives. But we often neglect that in our own.
yeah.
Which I mean, you see it in like a lot of personal trainers and stuff. They'll be brilliant at what they do. They'll coach people brilliantly. They can change people's lives. Their own training shit.
Yeah.
They eat shit. They sleep shit, and they have no good habits in their own life.
And my dad, I've mentioned him a couple of times on this. Like when we go watching like rugby or anything like that, he'll see like someone taking the warm up, and they'll be like big overweight.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck are they? How are they telling these stud athletes
Yeah.
what to do? And like I've said that to him in the past. I'm like, because knowledge wise, they're probably miles ahead of everyone else, but they're so it's rather passionate or so consumed by what they do, they can't actually apply it to themselves. And I'm still probably like that, you know.
I don't program for myself.
No.
I don't. I can't.
Yeah.
Because if I can set myself out a great program, but I'm not accountable to follow it.
Yeah.
I'm a fiend for, I mean, like, I like speaking to people and stuff like that. So I'll be a fiend. If I'm in work and I'm going to train, I'll start speaking to someone, which means my session ends up getting cut short. Or I'll think, I'll just go and do that little bit of business. I'll go and post a TikTok or an Instagram, or
you are a TikTok.
I'll send a few. Yeah. I'm trying. Not very well though. So, yeah, it's just easy. And then you're looking like, oh God, I've got half an hour now. But when you're accountable to somebody, especially in a busy life, you've got that hour there. And if you don't do it, you've got someone saying to you, mate, like, why have you not done that? What stopped you there? Like, and I personally actually found that quite beneficial myself.
I think one of the best things you can do to improve yourself is to get a coach in whatever area that is. For me, accountability is one of the most beneficial tools for me to actually get shit done, because I'm exactly like you. I'm probably worse. I'm like, oh, calf's a bit tight today.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll do that one tomorrow. But like, that's what I found brilliant about community gyms.
Mm-hmm.
So the gym I go to, Unity, like the community unit. But like,
you poet.
Yeah. It's you feel accountable to them people, and you sort of like, mate, I don't want to be like, where the fuck were you? You were booked on. Why have you cancelled off 10 minutes before?
Yeah.
I'd rather just go and suffer.
Yeah.
Do that.
But then you finish it, and you're glad that you've done it.
Yeah. But that is a tool for me that I'm like, I need that. I need that carrot of like, oh, that sword of Damocles, just like that hurts.
You better come today, Jack.
Oh, that horse is going to snap, and that sword's going to get me. Someone's going to be like, you're fucking mad about. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I think it's brilliant, and I think you should always be a student, not trying to be too philosophical about things, but I think you should always be learning, and like, you only get that from putting yourself in positions of being with other coaches, people more knowledgeable than yourself, and removing your ego of like not knowing what's best sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, there's that quote, isn't there, of never be the most knowledgeable person in a room.
Yeah.
Always surround yourself with people who know more than you do. I mean, there's been times when I've got to a position when I've been really comfortable and I've been surrounded by people who, with no disrespect, are a little bit lower down.
Yeah.
And you can still learn off those sort of people, but not at the rate of you would if you were sat in a room full of people who know a lot more than you do, and you can actually just sit and listen to what they say.
And you probably only learn negatives from them people.
Yeah, bad habits and stuff like that. Yeah.
Not even, and like, you're right, but you will pick up on being like, why the fuck are they doing that? And then sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to end up like X, I don't want to end up like that person, something. But then again, if you're around them long enough, you can then start to pick up the sort of idiosyncrasies, the routines, the sort of point of view of things, and be sort of consumed.
The negativity is the one for me, if you've got someone in a place where you are, it's like a virus, isn't it?
Yeah.
At first you start off, I don't like that person, they're so negative. And then you're around them that much that you suddenly start doing what they do, and other people start doing it, and it becomes contagious.
Yeah. For lack of a better phrase, it's a cancer. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
When you're in work, but especially in a workplace environment, if that person goes on holiday and you sit in that room and you go, the birds are singing, the sun's shining, what's different? And then you're like, oh, right, that's different. And then
I've worked with people like that, and I've been like, as the manager of the place, my goal for that month has been to try and get rid of that person, and not to obviously sack them, or to either make them change or make it clear to them that this is not an environment that encourages what you do. Yeah. What you do is not normal, so don't do it here, please.
Please.
Yeah. Please, obviously, you've got to be nice about it.
Yeah, you've got to be professional, especially in a managerial role, which we've both done. Treading that minefield, because you get the pressure of other people as well. You don't understand, mentioning no names, but you know who you are. Yeah. You know who you are if you're listening. But like, it's hard because you can't just be right. You're upsetting everyone. This is shit.
Off you go. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
You can't.
But then people don't understand that, do they?
No, they're like, well, they're pissing me off.
They just see it as the manager's not doing anything about it.
But you can't. There's just some people who it's so ingrained in not even the work ethic, just their day-to-day ethic of being like aggravating.
Yeah.
Just want to be a victim.
So I think a lot of the time it's people who are in an environment when people are better than them, and they know, or they don't want to get to that level, or they know they can't reach that level, so they try and bring people down to a level that's a little bit closer to them, so they feel a bit more comfortable about what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like that thing, innit, where more people who go in for rescue someone drowning who can't swim, it's normally the person who can swim ends up fucking drowning because they drown down the barrel, and it's a good analogy. It's an analogy that transfers very well into that situation. Yeah. It's like sometimes for love or lack of money, just let them fucking drown, man, and just try and distance yourself.
So some people you can't save. No, you can't. You can give them all the tools, but they don't use them.
Do you struggle with that being in sort of not now, but initially when you was in coaching and sort of the area you're in? Did you find that difficult to not to walk away from people who didn't give a shit?
Yeah, my personality has always been, I'll call myself a saver.
Yeah.
I don't leave a man behind. Which I've always been that way. I think I probably got that from my mum because she's like that with stuff. But I see someone struggling, or I see someone who needs help, and my initial sort of thing is, right, I'm going to focus on that person. And I did do that for a little bit, and I struggled with, I've given them everything. Why have they not improved in that? Or why are they still not doing that? Or why have they not listened to that? And then as I've got more experience, and obviously I've gone through in life, I've realised some people you just can't. But when you're focusing on the negative people, you're taking away from the positive people.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm giving my time and effort to that person, and I'm giving them a lot of time and effort because they need it. Yeah. I'm giving no time and effort to the people who don't necessarily need it,
but would benefit.
Would benefit from it, and I don't need to give them as much time, so I can spread myself nice and thin over there, or I can spread myself thick there in a place where it's not even going to benefit anyone.
Throw it back in your face, or stop doing it, and then that could have a negative effect on the people that are positively, because they're like, oh, what? Not necessarily. You find that then people who are positive don't have this sort of mindset of, oh, woe is me. But sometimes they do. Sometimes like, well, fucking hell, like, I'm here trying. And 3 people who have come and just pissed and moaned and kicked up a fuss, they've all gone now and still I'm here and not had that thing. And that was something I really struggled with. Again, I think I'm similar. I'm like, I really want to help and sort of, but fuck it, nothing. It doesn't annoy me. It actually upsets me is when people throw things back in your face. Like, I'm not a person who hates easily, but if you do that, if you like throw it back in my face, that fucking, I just can't let it go. And that's something that I need to work on as an individual, is holding them grudges of people who are like, you gave them so much time, energy, you was there for them. And like you said, you've wasted time on other people. who are still around now, and they'd just be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And that boils me.
You've invested your time into that when you could have invested it elsewhere.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's so common. Like, there was a fella I got a job for, and I trained him up in terms of interned him and got him the job, and literally would not have got that job if it wasn't for me. I fully went to the board and said, listen, this is the person. Got that job. I dropped him a message a few months later. Nothing. Not even a reply. And I was just like, in my head, I was thinking, I'm going to message you back and be like, you've only got that job because of me. But then you can't, can you? That is something I do struggle with myself. That is something I do need to work on.
It is annoying because you just think, again, it's sort of, it's mirrors turned inward, isn't it? I think we've both got similar sort of character where we will help people and we don't sort of understand why people do that. Well, people do that, and you've got to, again, have that skill to be like, you know what, fucking...
You got to switch off to it sometimes, yeah. But then, if you've got a personality like myself or you and you're surrounded by people who really want to progress and do well, you just fly.
Yeah.
Because you're giving, and when you give, people give back to you, and it's just a give until you're at the top of the pyramid.
100%. And people go on about, like, this is important, that is important. So, like, your health's important, which it is, of course, your nutrient, that sort of stuff, your wealth, everything like that. But your environment, like your environmental health, and that's not like, Greta Thunberg, that sort of shit. It's not
that sort of podcast.
It's not that sort of podcast. I'm not asking for super research to burn a road or anything, but like your social environment is massive. There's this thing in it where it says you're a product of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Now, I mean, scientifically that's been sort of debunked, but I think it's definitely a good sort of thing to tilt your hat to and be like, think about the 5 people you're around the most. Do they piss them on constantly? Is everything an issue? Is that, or are they looking driven, will push themselves beyond the norm points? Who do you want to be around? And there's that thing in there where if you go to your mates and they go, fucking hell, you've changed. Like, that should maybe make you assess and be like, what has changed? And if what's changed is, right, well, I don't go drinking anymore. I'm not, going fucking out every night, and I'm not spending all my money. I'm going to the gym. I'm fucking reading more, doing shit like that. If there are positive impacts on your life and your mates going, fucking hell, check out this guy, fucking thinks he's this, thinks he's that. Newsflash, they're probably not the people you want to be surrounding yourself with.
Like, how many people are you mates with from when you were a kid?
A percentile.
I've got a handful of that. Like, a lot of people, you get to that sort of... I mean, a lot of people, for me, it was when I went to uni and people were still going out getting... And I wanted to go down the career route. Yeah. So I was similar to that. I was like, no, I'm not going out on the weekend. I've got a football match. And then you just get to the point when you're like, off you go, you're not for me. You're providing no value for me.
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because you build these relationships with people. But I think a good example, and I think one of the best examples, is when this isn't always the case. I mean, you're the opposite. You're the light shining of this. It's like when people get together and they're like 13 years old, and then they stay with each other till they're like 18, 19. 90% of them relationships that I know, they just go. They just fizzle, don't they? Because one's people have grown into different people. And sometimes that's not always the case, and that's brilliant when that happens. And that happens with friendships as well. It's not just a relationship of like that, whatever it is you want to call it, but it happens with friendships too, where you just grow out.
Just drift,
yeah, and it's natural. And I think people try and not cling on to it, but you can be amicable with someone you don't see all the time. Like, if I bumped into any of my mates who I was mates at school with, or mates with when I was like a teenager, I'd stop and say hello to them and chat with them.
Yeah.
I just don't, or they don't, choose to spend their time.
Your lives aren't aligned, are they, in what you do? And
that was something for me that I had to work on massively, because I was very much, would put people in front of me, my friendship group in front of me, I mean, people might argue that if you ask certain people, but I would seriously contemplate my actions dependent on the reaction and the impact that had on my friendship group. And I think I was about 18, maybe 19, 20, and I was just like, fuck this. I should be putting myself first.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have got to be selfish to be successful in any sort of avenue that may be. You've got to put yourself first, because
you're never ever going to get to the place you want to be at in your head if you're putting other people first. No. It sounds horrible to say it out loud, doesn't it? But you can have a select few people in your life who you give your time and effort to, but you always need to be comfortable with yourself first. 100%. And this is another thing when you see people who need gratification from other people, rather than and being happy with who they are and being happy with what they're going through and who they need other people in their life to. And I mean, sometimes that is like having people around them who go out drinking on a weekend, and it's not real. It's all built up and fake until they strip it back and they look at their own issues and they realise they don't need that person, but that person over there, they give me some value, so they're worth having in my life.
Some people are just enablers, and they enable what you want to do, and it's like, well, they've asked me to go out, so I'm gonna have to go out.
But they're not asking you to go out for your own good. They're asking you to go out because they want to go out.
And like it's reciprocated of dragging each other down. Yeah. I think for me, when I sort of got to that stage and that age of my life where I was like, I just need to put myself first, because that example you just mentioned then about that guy, you got him a job. He doesn't give a shit about you. You know what I mean?
No.
And because you give a shit about him, that's backfired. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying fuck everybody off. That'd be stupid. But you've got to have that.
You've got to have a cut-off point.
Yeah, you've got to have caution as well. You've got to be mindful to think, right, I've done this favour now, or given someone a favour 5 times, and what have I had in return? Nothing. Is this
not a two-way relationship?
No, exactly. Is this sort of a healthy, feasible relationship? They're probably thinking, fucking
It's someone who just takes off you whenever they want, don't they? And knows you will give.
Yeah, and I think you have to, and this is where mindfulness comes in. And I think I talk about mindfulness a lot, and people think it's fucking hippie and shit like that, and it's not. I mean, it can be. Like, I meditate and stuff like that. I don't do it as much as I should, but I do. But that's not necessarily what mindfulness is. It's just being able to take time and assess the present moment here and now. And I think, again, going back to like social media and the sort of day and age we live in, we get caught up in what fucking new iPhones out in 3 weeks. Oh, well, did you see what they put on from 3 weeks ago? You're never actually in the present moment. And when you do actually cut out and come into that present moment, you get a lot of realisation about the current situation you're in, and you're like, oh, fucking hell, actually, this, that and that are more important than whatever's coming up in 4 days, or what happened 3 years ago was keeping me up at night.
People miss out on their life.
100%.
Worrying about things that either haven't happened or things that have happened. I mean, I was a fiend for it when I was younger. I'd do things and I'd think about it for days and I'd beat myself up for days. Say rugby, for example.
Yeah.
This is where I would have benefited from a psychologist, because if I made a really bad mistake in a game, I would think about it for days and I'd play it over in my head going, imagine if he did this or imagine if he did that. Whereas now something happens and I'm like, oh, fuck it, I can't change it. So all I can do is look at that situation. What would I do next time? How could I get better at it? Sweet, let's palm it off.
And that's the perfect way of summing it up, is sort of assessing it, giving it its sort of time, but then taking the positives from it, because there is always positives from failure. You can be like, all right, well, fucking hell, if I do this again, I'll avoid that outcome. But like, I was the exact same. Like, I probably still do it now. I'm not perfect for it now. There's probably stuff I did in high school that I'll wake up in a cold sweat and go, fucking hell, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But, I'm a lot better now than I used to be, because it just consumes you, and then
it does,
you have nothing else to give other than what you give into that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So like, go into sort of thinking about yourself and like confidence and moving forward and things like that. Viribus, how did that come about? Was there any sort of a thing I like to ask people, because there's normally a common theme, and maybe it'd be different for you. Was there a eureka moment, or was it like compounding moments?
So obviously, I own Veribus with two of my schoolmates, Liam and Liam. So like, we've been good mates in school. And when we're talking about value, these are two people who have provided value for me throughout my life. Like whenever I've needed them, they've been there, and we've been close throughout. And in COVID, we just met up because obviously we were all on furlough, and we were just discussing because we've always wanted to get a business of some sort. So like one of the Liam's backgrounds, he was a GB handball player.
Yeah.
He's got a master's in cardiac rehabilitation. The other Liam's a physiotherapist. He's worked in sport, and obviously I've got my background in sport and fitness. So we knew the business itself was going to be something fitness related.
Yeah.
And when we sat down and went through different ideas, the initial thing was going to be gym equipment, because at the time in COVID, gym equipment was huge. People couldn't get hold of it, and if you can navigate the markets right, and this is what stops people a lot of time with business, they don't know how to get product at a good price with good quality, or they're scared to try it.
Yeah.
And I would say, don't be scared. Like, if you go to China, the suppliers speak very good English.
Yeah.
They'll send you samples of everything, and you can buy from there with confidence. And obviously, if you're not happy with the product, you send it back and alterations and da-da-da. But started with gym equipment. And what we found was the shipping price went up massively because of COVID. So we decided to box that off. And then we were just actually chatting about gym bags at the time, because like Liam is obviously into his handball, and he was saying he has like 3 or 4 bags for handball. And when we were looking at it, we were like, I wonder if we could get one bag that's obviously multi-purpose. Obviously there are other like bags in the market. Obviously we all know like Built for Athletes, and they are sort of top. Obviously you've got Wolfpack, brands like that, but they're at a standpoint up there, a price point. I'm into my health and fitness. I go to the gym all the time. I work in the gym. I would never buy a bag like that. Not because, I mean, they're great bags, don't get me wrong, they're good products, but I wouldn't spend that amount of money on a product like that because I don't value it that highly to do it. So we thought if we could come together with a bag design that's going to sit in just underneath, that's accessible for everyone, but it's flexible as well. So obviously our bags that we came out with, tactical backpacks, the initial ones were 45 litres, and the idea was you can use it for anything. You can buy one of our bags and you can use it for the gym, but you can go straight from the gym to work with all your work stuff in there. You can go straight from work to go meet a mate afterwards. You've got your change of clothes in there, and then you bring it home, obviously empty it out, and it's just that one-purpose bag. But it's not at a price point when it's going to kill you.
No, it's affordable, isn't
it? Yeah, it's affordable.
And I've had a Built for Athletes bag, and I have your bags now. They're the same quality, if not better. Like with my Built for Athletes, and there's little things on it where it goes and you can't replace it because of how they've designed it and that. But like, again, you don't want to be sort of seen. This sounds stupid, but for me, like, you don't want to be seen rocking around, like going to your mates in a Built for Athletes bag because you'd be like, oh, fucking CrossFit wanker.
Yeah.
But like, your bag and that, it's sort of got its own identity now. And like, I go camping in it, go to work in it, take it out. Like, it is a multi-purpose bag. I mean, I know it's centric, like the main focus of it is for the gym and stuff like that, but I have mates who ski and like have bought them, they've got the ski boots in.
Yeah,
and shit like
literally
that.
I mean, the beauty with the bags is the quality is that good on them. I mean, like, the quality of the actual bag material itself is better than our competitors. That's one thing we wanted to make sure. So essentially they're tear-proof. And obviously if anyone, we do come across issues every now and again, but the beauty of us, we will replace it straight away. If you have any sort of problem, we know it's obviously just a one-off from the batch, so we'll replace it straight away. The beauty of our bags is you're going to have it for years. I mean, like, when we first started our business, like, 3-4 years ago, I've still got that bag, and that's been absolutely beat up and battered, and it still looks pretty much new. Like, so that's the beauty of them. I mean, you're spending 70 quid on a bag that's going to last you 4 or 5 years, and you can use it for absolutely everything.
Yeah. And I mean, moving on from that, sort of, if you can hear my dog's barking, I apologise for that. But moving on from that, sort of, takes a lot of balls, one, to start a business, then compete against some of arguably the biggest names in the sector, like Built for Athletes. Because if you're in the gym and you're in the CrossFit world and the weightlifting world, you know that brand.
Yeah.
And again, you've had all the, like, it's been super successful, and you've had such good buy-in. Like, look at the Trustpilot, the reviews online, and that. I love them. People I know love it. What was like? I know the answer because I know you. But what was the motivation to be like, right? Let's fucking build this. Let's go into tees, hats.
Yeah. Do you know what I think? And we were on about this, weren't we, last week off pod? But I'm just so passionate about it. Yeah. I wake up every morning, and like we're saying with the TikTok, I'm not very good at TikTok, but I set myself a challenge. Not by much. That's not a battle.
It's not a flex.
Like, I set myself a challenge of posting 3 TikToks a day for 30 days before the baby was born. And I did it, but it's not like, fucking hell, I've got to wake up and do a TikTok. I was like, right, Sam, let's get up, let's do a TikTok. It's like, when I wake up, it's something that I want to do. And I would still do it, even if like it wasn't a viable business. I would just do it out of passion for it, because I enjoy doing it.
Doesn't feel like work.
No, it doesn't feel like it's a release in a way. Although it's a business, and alongside that, there's a lot to learn with business, isn't there? Like sales, marketing, everything like that. My God, it's like all foreign to me, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy learning it, and I know eventually over time I'll get better and better as I learn off other people with stuff like that. I will get better and better at that, and same for the other 2 lads, and it will just keep growing itself. And I think with the business, when people go into it looking to make money, I think that's sometimes where it goes a bit south.
Yeah.
Because when things get tough, you don't want to do it because you're not really that into it.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's something you're passionate about, you can go through them peaks and troughs, because even when you're at a trough, you wake up and you're still like, I want to do that today. Like, let's see how we can get through this. And you know, like, what the end goal is.
You'll just keep pushing through, won't you?
Yeah.
Like, especially if you've experienced some highs within the journey of whatever you're passionate about, you will sort of go through them troughs to be like, I want to chase that high again of doing something I'm so passionate about and getting such a feeling from it. And you're definitely right, I've done it myself, when you've been more bothered about the financial implications of it, when it gets tough and you're not getting the financial implications out of it, you're like, fuck it.
Sack it off, don't you?
Yeah. It's like profit maximising what we think. But when it feels more of a job and you're not getting anything about it, like, you just tend to...
You sack it off and go to something new, don't you?
Yeah, but then when you find something you're passionate about, and it is cliche, but it's true. It's a cliche because it's true. Like, when you do something you love, it doesn't feel like work.
I mean, like, look at your book and your pod. Like, I bet you don't wake up in the morning thinking, fucking hell, I've got to do a pod today. No. I bet you wake up flowing with ideas of, I'm going to do this today, I'm going to do that today. It's because you're actually passionate and you enjoy doing it.
Yeah, and like, I just have sort of, again, chaotic mind, but I'm always thinking of ideas how to progress the business. Not even to making money's nice. Don't get me wrong. We all like doing that and having this, but I mean, the pod isn't making me a particularly great amount. The book, I'm not retiring anytime soon, but I've done them because it's rewarding. It's something I'm passionate about. It's something I've always wanted to do. So I'm gonna just fucking grab it by the balls and do it and just stick with it and see. Because like, if you look at Chris Williamson, when I had Joe on, we was talking about it, and John, who does Build Strong, was talking about that. I think Chris Williamson said he'd had more subs in the last 6 months than he had for the first 5 or 6 years of doing it. And it's just that water erosion, isn't it? You know, the water keeps dripping on the rock. It might take 10 years, but eventually the rock will split.
All it takes is one thing to happen to your business. Yeah. Like, say, for example, for your book, it takes the right person to buy it and like it and put it out to their following. And then suddenly it spreads, doesn't it? Like, people start sharing it. And it would be the same, for example, on TikTok. If your TikTok could be really, really bad. If you have a video, one really good video that does 1 million views, suddenly you've got thousands of followers, and your TikTok then has been propelled up, and it's the same with anything.
Maybe take 1% from 1 million views and get followers, you'd be like, fuck it. Wow. Yeah. And I think people expect too much sometimes. I think, again, it's that instantaneous thing. It's they want it to happen overnight, sort of get rich quick and do this and do that. So, like, I know it's a passion of yours. What was sort of you're obviously going into the fire service and stuff like that. So what was sort of the feel with that? Is that something you've always wanted to do, the fire? Is that something, or...
Yeah. Do you know what?
A challenge?
I've always looked at it, and obviously my sister's in there now, and I'm quite similar personality-wise to my sister, and I've seen how much she's enjoyed it as well. But like we say about being a helper and a saver, I like we're doing rewarding stuff, and I feel like in the job I'm in at the moment, I've got to a point where I'm not going to progress any higher. Yeah, I'm at the ceiling, and I'm essentially doing the same thing, and I don't see that as a challenge. Whereas if I go into the fire service, it's something completely new. I get to learn a whole new job. Obviously, it's physically fit and stuff like that as well. But I get to help people at the end of the day, and if I could, it gives me a little bit more life balance. Now the baby's here, means I can spend a bit more time with the baby, a bit more time with my wife, and it also gives me a bit more time for the business as well, which it just overall creates a lot better balance for me with where I'm at in my life.
And it suits, like I said, it's fitness, it's challenging, it's rewarding. Probably, you can't say every day might be different and stuff. It fits with sort of the core principles, doesn't it? And I think that's important to find in your work, in sort of your main aspect, because the majority of us are spending the majority of our time at work, so you may as well do something you relatively enjoy. Obviously, there's financial implications with stuff like that, but I mean, the fire is something that I wanted to get into, but it's such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, for me, it's an enticing thing, but I think you have to be a certain character to want to do it. I remember the first question, I bet you've had this question, someone's like, well, what are you going to do if you're into a burning building?
Yeah.
Like, I'll fucking find out what I do. Like,
what are you going to do if you die? Well, if I die, I'm dying.
Do you think you'd be able to run into a burning building? I'm like, sure, I'll find out.
I've no choice.
Yeah, but it's like when you do the
Yeah.
And like, how you can find spaces and being in the dark. It's like, don't know, we'll find out. And
do you know
one of the maddest things.
Funny story about that. When I went to do the induction day, we had the obviously the BA set on and the oxygen tank and stuff, and they set you in the rat room. And normally you do it without it all on. It's quite confined as it is.
Yeah.
And they put you in this dark room, obviously with the rat run, and go, right, off you go. Like, some of the spaces are tight, especially if you're a bit bigger. Like, some of them are diagonally split, some of them are half split. And there's a bit where you have to go from the top down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I got stuck. So my tank got wedged at the top diagonally, and I was stuck. And in my head, I started to panic a little bit. I could feel my breathing going. Yeah. And obviously, when you've got the BA set on, you breathe a little bit different, and you can't breathe panicked. You've got to be relaxed.
Yeah.
And then
it doesn't circulate.
No. So in my head, I'm thinking, fucking hell, I'm stuck like shit. So if I was in a burning building, I'd be fucked. I'd be dead. No, it's just taking that minute and realizing that worst case scenario where they're just going to bust the door down and pull me out. Like it is. But
for anyone who's never seen like the rat race thing in the fire, YouTube it, because it's so difficult to explain.
It's like that big.
Yeah, you're like,
honestly, you've got to be hands and knees to get through it.
And I mean, we're big fellas.
Some fellas are twice as big as me, and I'm like, fucking.
There were some bonny lads like doing that day when I did it, and I remember there was this corner on the bottom, so we'd just come down from the top to the bottom, and like when I say it's pitch black, it's fucking. You may as well be like that.
Oh, you can't see anything.
You can't see
nothing.
Shit.
No.
And did you have the one where the half grid was? So like you've got that space.
Yeah, and then you cut it. Yeah, so like some of them are diagonal and some of them are straight. Yeah.
So I was like using my hands, and I was like wedged like round like a boomerang, and I'm like, there's
no space.
I come from here. But there's nothing here. But I was using the bottom, and I started panicking because I had the mask on and that. Just breathe, have a minute, take a little second, and I literally just put my hand up and fucking fell through.
Straight.
Like, oh my god! The worst thing about that though is running in, doing like the laps of the yard in the full like.
Oh, it's uncomfortable, isn't it? Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
I'm sure they give you bigger boots. Like,
yeah. I had flippers on me.
Yeah, mate, I was like, what size are you? I'm like 11. I was like, mate, these are a 14. I'm running around like a golf club like that. Doing shooting it.
Clown shoes,
aren't they? Yeah, they were, mate. Like, you're in this tunic, which is designed to not let heat in or let heat out. So
it's boiling as well in June or whatever it is.
Yeah. And then you've got to like do 6 stations. Like the rat race is the best one because you go single file, so you just like you get a minute.
Get a bit of a break.
Then the hose run. The hose run when you're running on the bottom and you're reeling it up, I don't know if it's because I was tall. I don't know how you felt, but I felt that was the worst one. Like my back.
Oh, it killed me back. Yeah.
And I was like, praying for me 5'4" or something to do it. I mean, I understand the standard of it, and like it is good if you like that sort of thing. But the fucking like they have Borstal, and it's like arm drills, which is fair enough. But like that, obviously, the majority of people have never done a hose run because why would you? But like to actually line the fucker up and then not let it veer.
Yeah, it's difficult
because you have to get it in a box, don't you? So you're talking about like a fucking 12-meter hose, and then you have to run it out, turn around, and then fold it.
There's like a technique to doing it as well. So if you just rock up and don't know what you're doing, you buggers.
Yeah, you fucked. And then you have to get to end and then slot it. And literally, it's like getting a sleeping bag back in the bag it comes in. Like you have to be pristine, but you're doing it under time. Size 18 boots on, size 9, and like in full fire gear, you've got an helmet on. And you're like, man, I was fucking.
See, I love stuff like that. I love the challenge of it. I love it. That's the stuff I love, me.
Yeah, it was the. I think for me, like the big plus of it was like the challenging mentality of it all. Because the first thing they said to me when I passed out, and just before I started, I never started, but before I started, they were like, 40% of people make it through the hose and ladder drill training. And I was like, sick.
It's a bit of gratification for you, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't care if I'm fucking dying, I'm going to be that 40%. Yeah. I think that's what's sort of
that's what we were talking about with the mental blocks before, though. Like, there's some people when you look at them and they can do it, but as soon as it gets difficult, they stop.
They'll hear that and be defeated.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool. So going sort of toward the end there, because I've just looked and fucking been flying here.
A long one, isn't it?
An hour and 20 in. But like, so from everything you've done, so your business, your coaching, you're working in professional football, getting into the fire, which could be, trust me, it could be a podcast in itself. So I've been through it, and it's
might be one for you for the future.
Yeah, it might be one. Yeah, but it's a long, fucking hard process. Yeah. And out of that, what are like 3 habits that you do? You've mentioned one, but what would it that you just recommend to an everyday person? 3 habits that sort of get you through managing that workload, the life you've chosen to have, and habits or routines.
Yeah, reflection's the biggest one, I think. Reflection has helped me so much, and it's reflection in terms of when you're in a bad position or a bad situation, taking a little step back and, like you say, being mindful and present in the moment to have a look at that situation and give like internal feedback intrinsically to yourself and see how you can improve going forwards. There's loads of different bits and bobs I've taken from that. Second one, I mean, I don't know if it's a habit as such, but non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Like, I will have non-negotiables in the week where, say, for example, with my training, doesn't matter how busy I am, I will find time to do 4 sessions in a week.
Yeah.
That is non-negotiable for me. Doesn't matter how busy I am. I'll have, for example, one day where I'll spend with my wife. That is non-negotiable. So that's when it comes into journaling. At the start of the week, I'll journal out what is non-negotiable for me at the week. Third one, resilience.
Nice.
I would say.
Yeah.
Because weirdly enough, I've been through quite difficult situations in my life.
Yeah.
For someone who's not even 30 yet, I've gone through quite difficult situations that, and I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass, but probably would have defeated quite a few people.
Yeah. I've known you through some of them periods, and definitely
difficult periods of my life.
Yeah.
And when people talk about mental health and stuff like that, that's a big part. I can see why people struggle with that, with stuff like that. But having the mental resilience to keep pushing on and having your goal in place where the mental resilience is always making you work towards it.
Love that. You know what? When you got to the third one then and you paused, I was like, you've done what everyone else has done. Everyone gets 2, mate. Everyone's like, bang. Everyone struggles with the third. You smashed it. I mean, I think it was Anna fucking Uno reversed me because I said that to her.
What's yours?
What's yours? I was like, I got 3 I smashed it out. But yeah,
so I won't ask you that.
Good. I would panic then, because I'd have to say 3 1. But going to the last one, which I always ask people, is there a habit or a routine that you would love to have in your daily life or your life in any capacity, or a habit and routine that you did previously that you'd love to bring back and you don't do it now?
Consistent sleep would be one. I mean, I've seen the benefits of it. I've been through periods when I've been able to go bed every night at 10 o'clock and get up every day at 6, 7. And the benefits mentally as well, in terms of the output you can give throughout the day because you've had enough sleep and you're well rested and your body clock's on the same routine every day.
Circadian rhythm's massive.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah.
I reckon a good percentage of people don't even know what the circadian rhythm is.
No. I mean, there's times now, like, when I'll be on an early shift and I'll have slept 4 hours and I wait, and that day's, it's shit compared to what it could be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's so much more could get done in that day. Yeah. You're starting on a negative. You're already catching up.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing, definitely consistent sleep.
That would be mine as well, 100%. I'm a terrible, terrible sleeper. But when I've got into the routine and got my sleep hygiene like to the best that it's been, man, the difference is just... It's your recovery as well.
Yeah.
Like if you're like us and you like pushing yourself. Well, I don't like pushing myself probably. But, I like to think
you do. Be modest.
But like, when you just resonate at a different level in everything you do. Like, even this sounds stupid, but I struggle with my stomach. People who know me will know this. You feel like your digestion's better when you sit on your sleep. It's like there's that thing. Did you see it when they told like a group of people, like, right, there's this supplement that can give you this, and this.
Yeah,
are you willing to do it?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, what is it? Sleep, man.
Yeah.
Fucking sleep. And like, you just fucking crumble immediately. And you're like, wow, it's a performance enhancing drug.
Yeah, it is, but we are in a society when people don't sleep.
Yeah,
like, people will sit scrolling on the phones. I mean, it's like when we talk about light exposure and stuff like that before, but I mean, that's a whole podcast in itself. Yeah, people are bad for it with tellies, phones. I mean, like, I've changed my phone now to where I can switch red light on instead of blue light when I'm going to bed. So that hour before, if I do go on my phone, it's red light only now, which has been one of it. Couldn't tell you. Somebody did it for me. I was speaking to someone about red light, and randomly they went, "Yeah, you can change that on your phone, So now when I double click on the side of my phone, it goes red."
Well, definitely. But another thing is, I got blue light glasses.
Yeah.
And they were good, but they just scratch like fuck and you lose the tint. And going to something about our society and going back to, again, the 1%ers and looking at them, it's fucking grind culture, man. You see, it's like, bin yourself every day, fucking sleep when you're dead.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
No, it's not. It's not.
When people say, like, interesting, I won't say my opinion on it. Do you think burnout is real?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've had burnout 3 or 4 times in my life already.
Yeah, I've suffered from it. Man, fucking...
It's horrible.
It blows my mind when people are like, burnout is... It's fake. Like, it's just
no,
it's not. You've never had it.
It's not.
If you've never been properly burnt out, you've never had it. Like, if you're saying it's not real, I can guarantee you, if you had it, you'd be like, sorry, lads. I redact everything I've ever said about it.
I mean, Stephen Bartlett, on his podcast, when he started his podcast initially, that was something he used to talk about. Oh, yeah, be willing to not have like 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep. And as he's gone on, he now is quite a big advocate, isn't he, for like sleep, and like he's completely gone back on that. Yeah,
you can only do it for so long, and I think it goes back to what we were saying before about when people first start with something that they're uber motivated with, like the gym or changing the lifestyle. You can bin yourself ridiculously. You can be training 9 times a week and doing that. I've done it, but it is not sustainable.
Not long term. No.
You will do it for 3 weeks, then you'll be like, I am a fucking idiot.
Body will be like, shout.
Peace. See you later. But yeah, nice one, Matt. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think we could probably do another one. We had scratched just things we had a little chat before we chatted about one of them things.
Yeah, everything on me, but
enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, mate. And before we go, obviously, Viribus is now the sponsor of the podcast, which I'm super stoked about. Tell people where they can find you.
So, obviously, you can find us on Instagram at Viribus_strength. If you go to www.viribusstrength.co.uk, you can scroll through our website. We do obviously have a discount code as well now set up with Jack, which is literally just Average Jacks, I believe. Average Jacks, 20% off absolutely everything. If you do come on the website and quote Jack of some sort, we will sort you out with something special as well on the side. So yeah, if you do listen to the podcast and you do come over, give us a little shout.
Perfect. Thank you very much. See you all later.